Hey everyone, welcome to Clickheads. I'm Eddie the Chump, and today we've got an action-packed news roundup for you. The stories include Killjoy being disabled for this weekend's FaZe Invitational to protect competitive integrity, patch 1.05 having some teething problems, Deathmatch mode being quite a departure from what players actually wanted, and some matchmaking tuning creating some very odd rank disparity issues. We're also going to take a look at hints in the Battlepass that could be showing us the shape of upcoming content, just like the Killjoy hints from Act 1. There's quite a lot to get through today, so let's just crack on. First, let's deal with Killjoy being disabled or vaulted for top-level competition. The org running the event, FaZe Clan, put out this tweet yesterday. Due to the recency of Killjoy's release, there is a risk that multiple issues may negatively impact the competitive integrity of this weekend's tournament. As such, Riot has requested that she be disabled in official tournaments until they are confident in her stability. Various other accounts, including Morello and Ziegler, replied and thanked FaZe for their understanding, and Slasher even went as far as saying this: Riot will be disabling Killjoy in this weekend's FaZe Invitational Valorant tournament to protect competitive integrity as she was just released. Riot more than epic. So, there will be no Killjoy in upcoming tournaments this weekend because she's so new. I can hear some of you guys furiously typing, but if that's true, why is she even enabled in Ranked? If Riot knew that she could still have bugs, then surely she shouldn't be an option to play in my matches either. Listen, I hear that, and Morello has even spoken about this instantly available in Ranked new agent Cadence as being just what they do now, and that they might change that moving forward. Overwatch heroes, for example, are a week delayed between initial release and eligibility for ranked play. But there is also a part of me that wants to say, settle down, you bunch of silvers. It's not as if our ranked matches are the pinnacle of competition anyway. And there is a real difference between a ranked game that is, at the end of the day, entertainment just for the players involved, and a pro tournament where real money is on the line, where tens of thousands of people will be watching. I agree with Slasher, actually. Just being willing to say, hey, our bad, would you mind banning her until we can hotfix, is a real departure for a big developer. If you only play Valorant or you don't pay attention to other esports, this might be lost on you. But a dev team who actually owns their stuff and takes responsibility is a real breath of fresh air. Other devs just expect players and tournaments to go along with whatever they say, even when it comes to content that is controversial because everyone except the dev team thinks it's a terrible idea. This is a great precedent for Riot to set, actually. Yes, it's unfortunate, but guess what? Game development is hard, especially when nobody can actually work in a normal fashion at the moment. We'll just have to wait a little bit of time to see if pros even pick her when she is eligible. Moving on, Riot have just released this very in-depth article covering hit registration. This is in response to some of the broken hit reg videos we've all seen and talked about since the game's beta. Now, this article is very in-depth and discusses exactly how the hit registration works, why it can be confusing when watching your gameplay back, if you think bad hit reg has affected you, etc. To give you the very basic Cliff Notes version, the actual hit reg is separate from the visual effects feedback that the game displays. This leads to desync issues between a shot being fired and the hit confirmation graphics. Essentially, the hit reg is largely working as intended, but there are edge cases where the visual feedback the player sees can be confusing and/or unclear. The article shows that this is especially prevalent when a player is moving or crouching, something very common in a lot of the Reddit clips we've all seen. So it is possible to see a hit on a player's head in a crouch that is not in fact a headshot, but a delayed body shot that has not updated yet on your client's side. Obviously, this is frustrating, and they are working on improving the clarity of what we all see in game. There are in fact two distinct visual assets for a headshot and a body shot, and when slowed down, it is easier to see the difference. This is a fascinating read and goes really in depth, and I highly suggest you go and check it out for yourself. It's linked in the description box below. I'm just happy that we've got an official response about some of these issues. Moving on, let's talk about patch 1.05. Ziegler tweeted out the dev team's thanks for player patience, as this has probably been the most buggy patch in quite a while, which happens, especially for the reasons I've already mentioned. Last night, the Valorant Twitter account addressed the issue of people's weekly challenges not showing up or being active, and that hopefully by the time that you're watching this video, this issue has been resolved. This did actually happen to me, and I was just wondering if weeklies didn't start on the first week of a new act or something, but no, it was just a bug, and it didn't affect everybody. But when you have a battle pass that's value is largely linked to XP that players can earn, that can get a bit painful for players who are affected. I didn't even think about this at the time, as I just paid to unlock her, as this this is my job, but if you were going to grind for Killjoy and you didn't have access to the larger XP bonuses of the weeklies, the next agent would be out by the time you finally got to play her. Maybe not, but it would take quite a long time. Thankfully, as I said, this should be fixed by now. Another thing that seems to be happening since the matchmaking tuning in patch 1.05 is that some games have had way more rank disparity depending on pre-made size. This Reddit thread from Russman Kiwi explains a situation where as a solo queue Diamond 1 player, he got placed into a game where the rest of his team were golds. He posited that it's because the other team was likely very similar but in a pre-made group. Now I can totally understand why as the Diamond player you would not want this to be the case. If you're way above those that you're playing with and your opponents are similar but are actually playing together, they do have a distinct advantage. It's either carry or lose in this specific situation. Now Riot did actually reply to this thread, and what they had to say was quite interesting. Riot Bright Eyes says this: "To your point, it is very likely that the reason there is a large skill disparity in this game is due to pre-mades. The game should be balanced in terms of the predicted outcome to win the match on each side being similar, but the highest ranked players will be expected to play better than others in the game." He continued, "We think having some texture in matches is healthy, where you get the chance to be the carry, or on the flip side, the chance to test your skills against other players better than you. Right now, skill disparity and that texture we want to provide is higher than we would like, and so we are continuing to make changes and iterations to reduce it." He also says this: "After today's patch 1.05, matchmaking will take slightly longer if you solo or solo duo queue in order to put you more often against similarly sized pre-made groups. This should help reduce the chance of you getting into games with high skill disparity due to facing other larger pre-mades. So a healthy amount of what they call texture is actually welcome. It is a good idea to play outside of your level both up and down, but this example does feel a bit extreme. I would not be happy if this happened to me, and Riot do say this is not actually intended, and that moving forward this is going to become rarer and rarer. As Morello likes to say, ranked modes are kind of impossible, as they usually end up serving multiple functions but not that well. Display of skill, progression system, etc, etc. In my recent 1.05 experience playing in 2s, 3s and stacks, I haven't had anything like this happen, and if anything, my matches have actually been better balanced than in previous patches. The yo-yo roll or stomp nature of Valorant ranked has kind of settled a bit, at least for me. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think down below. Are extreme examples like this rare for you too, or does this happen way more often than I think it does? Moving on, let's talk about the free-for-all deathmatch beta. I'm going to be real with you guys, I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but by the reaction of pros and community figures who were vocal just like us for a mode like this to be added, the way Riot has implemented deathmatch leaves a lot to be desired. Look, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm really happy we have something to warm up in against other real players, and game development is hard, but on the other hand, what players actually wanted for the most part was servers that they could join quickly and play for as long as they wanted, not queue up for and with a short kill limit. The point of DMing isn't to win a game, it's to practice, but the way it's been released in beta is as if it's an actual free-for-all mode. Worse than that, radar is always on, so people play like they're on the main stage, and health drops in packs that you have to go and pick up instead of being automatically replenished on kill, like any of the thousands of deathmatch servers available for games like Counter-Strike. This might sound trivial, but it is not uncommon for Counter-Strike players to deathmatch while their FACEIT or ESEA queues take its time to find a match. It's something used to warm up or keep warm, or as dedicated practice for quite a long time, maybe even hours. The way Valorant's deathmatch works is decidedly not that, and if only one thing were to be changed, it has to be the kill limit. 30 is nothing. When I used to DM, I used to rack up at least 150 kills before doing anything else. It was part of my practice routine. As it is, Valorant deathmatch is not fit for that purpose, and I'm not the only person that thinks that. To be fair to Riot, it is still in beta and they do listen to what we have to say, so what we have to do is rationally and calmly give feedback, which is what I hope I've done here. If you agree, or if you have an opinion that's different, leave it in the comment section down below. There is also a bug currently where the amount of XP you get for completing a deathmatch is laughably low, at like 100 XP. Riot have replied and said that that's a bug, it's meant to be 500, but I don't really like that you don't get any XP for the amount of kills you get, etc. The mode needs work, let's just leave it at that. And finally, we're going to talk about some of the Battle Pass content that could be hinting at future releases. If you remember, this card was right at the end of the Act 1 Battle Pass, and it hinted at Killjoy being a picture of what we now know is her turret. So it's reasonable then to look at the Act 2 pass and see if we can identify any clues. There are two things I want to bring up. The first is this card and avatar that show a character we haven't seen before. This to me looks like a villain. All the soldiers around them are carrying the Battle Pass Vandal. Now, it's a bit on the nose to get a picture of a new agent, especially one in avatar form, but I think this is the first hint at the lore villain of the Valorant world. The colour scheme is purple, very similar to Reyna, in that she has a purple radiant heart, and this character seems to have purple wings behind them, kind of like an insect. Perhaps Reyna or Omen or both work for whoever this is, whereas agents like Phoenix, Brim and Sage are in opposition to them. I don't know, I'm just speculating obviously, but there's a reason this character was included, and I don't think it's just a link to the skins. This card, however, called The Way Forward, is placed right at the end of the pass, which is usually where the strongest hints are placed, as by the time players unlock them, they'll be naturally closer to the relevant content release date. Now, when I look at this card, I can't help but notice the bird, which I think is a phoenix. It also is emitting some kind of sonar waves from its head, and the art style of the card could either be Celtic or Norse-inspired, depending on how you interpret it. There's actually a ton to unpack here. There's the obvious phoenix reference. We already have an agent with that name, so I don't think it's that. The green colorway and the almost forest-like background is more interesting to me. If it's Norse style, it could be a link to, say, someone like Breach, or if it's meant to be more Celtic inspired, that would make me think of a possible Irish agent, which would make the green colour scheme make a little bit more sense, as that's a colour very commonly associated with that country. The title as well, The Way Forward, is a thematic hint. The bird seems to be coming out of a dark forest, as in the way out of darkness, perhaps. If I had to make a wild guess, it's an initiator agent with recon utility. Now, Sova already has an owl drone, so maybe that's a bit on the nose as well, but who wouldn't want an agent with a pet that gave you battlefield intel in a very different way? This is all conjecture, obviously, and I want your best agent hint conspiracy theories in the comment section down below. This is half the fun of following a game like this anyway. And that's about it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you get notified when we upload. Also, please check out our Facebook stream. We're no-lifing Valorant over there, and it would be great to see some of you in the chat. Until next time.